as I've indicated to you before she comes, we might not take a lot of questions, especially the repetitive questions. So as the questions are asked, put a note as she delivers a statement, put a note, and maybe depending, we might go for only one round of questions so that we also give you enough time to file. We know that as some of you were showing to me that it's quite a hectic day, back-to-back stories that some of you have to cover. So we'll also respect you on that front. Welcome again to GCIS. I'm not sure about this light. I know that it might cause it's too strong. We'll see how maybe we shift it. And also there's one a little bit, colleagues. I know if they trouble me with these big eyes that I have, anyone who has lesser big eyes than mine would be in trouble. Minister, let us take this opportunity to welcome you, but also to invite you to take us through the post-cabinet statement. Thank you very much. And on the sign languages today, we are going to be led by Kamokhelo Ramoloja and also Nombuso Nhleko. They'll be our colleagues on sign language. And joining the minister, I'll explain later. Thank you very much.
Good morning. You'll pardon me for my voice. It's the winter season. This is the cabinet statement for the meeting that took place on Wednesday, the 26th of August, 2026. Starting on the issues in the environment, when we're focusing on building economic strength and resilience, we're starting with a government and business partnership to accelerate economic growth and job creation. Cabinet welcomed the launch of Phase 3 of the government-business partnership to drive growth, attract investment, and create 1 million jobs by 2030. Phase 3 builds on successes of Phases 1 and 2, collaboration in key sectors. Phase 2 achievements include the end of load shedding, improvements in rail and port performance, South Africa's exit from the FATF grey list, and credit rating upgrades by S&P, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch. Phase 3 will advance reforms, strengthen investor confidence, and expand economic opportunities for all South Africans, with key targets on expanding energy capacity, increasing freight volumes, unlocking major investments, and further boosting international tourist arrivals by 2027. Also, South Africa prepares for a new tuberculosis vaccine. Cabinet was briefed on progress towards the development of a new tuberculosis TB vaccine, currently undergoing Phase 3 trials, which could significantly contribute to eliminating TB as a public health threat. Cabinet noted that government is preparing for the registration and introduction of the vaccine should the trials prove successful. Cabinet also welcomed an agreement with the Serum Institute of India to produce TB vaccines for global distribution, which will strengthen South Africa's vaccine manufacturing capacity, support innovation, and contribute to economic growth and job creation. On laying the foundation for a more resilient energy future with Eskom generation performance, Eskom exceeded a key milestone in its load reduction eradication program by achieving load reduction status in 7 provinces ahead of the October 2026 target. Approximately 1.2 million customers have been restored to normal supply conditions, reducing the share of affected customers to 6.8% of Eskom's customer base. Furthermore, Eskom has also significantly reduced its reliance on diesel with expenditure falling by more than 83% year-on-year from 5.92 billion rands to 992 million rands over the comparable period, as open cycle gas turbine usage dropped from 8.67% to 1.1%. The sharp reduction in diesel use reflects sustained improvements in fleet performance and a more reliable, efficient, and resilient power system. South Africa has now recorded 467 consecutive days without load shedding since 16 May 2025, providing reliable electricity to households and businesses and supporting broader economic development. Cabinet welcomed continued improvement in Eskom's performance, with the energy availability factor reaching its highest level since 2020, reflecting a more reliable generation fleet. This sustained improvement returned approximately 6,100 megawatts of generation capacity to the grid, while unplanned outages declined by nearly 40% year-on-year. Cabinet calls on South Africans to make submissions on the draft electricity pricing on the draft revised electricity pricing policy, which is currently open for public comments. The proposed policy measures are aimed at reducing the cost of electricity while maintaining cost-reflective tariffs and protecting vulnerable households and strategic economic sectors. On the 5th Sustainable Infrastructure Development Symposium of South Africa, SEDISA, Cabinet welcomed the South Africa's successful hosting of the 5th SEDISA conference in Cape Town. Cabinet also welcomed the identification of 263 infrastructure projects valued at 1.99 trillion rands across various stages of development and implementation. Over the past 18 months, 37 projects valued at 69 billion have been completed, supporting economic growth and job creation. On the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA extension, Cabinet welcomed the extension of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, which maintains preferential access for eligible South African products and African products to the United States of America market. The extension, which will last until December 31st, 2028, provides certainty for local producers and exporters, supporting market diversification, increasing exports, and deeper trade and investment ties with the U.S. Citrus agreement with India. Cabinet welcomed the agreement between South Africa and India to expand treatment options for South African fresh citrus exports following nearly a decade of negotiations. The agreement will provide citrus producers with greater logistical flexibility and support increased exports to India, one of the world's largest and fastest growing markets. As the world's second largest citrus exporter, with 2.9 million tons of citrus exported in 2025, earning $2.1 billion US, South Africa's citrus industry supports significant employment across the value chain, and therefore expanded market access will strengthen the sector's growth, export, and job creation potential. On enhancing South Africa's competitiveness as a destination for tourism, business, and investment, Cabinet welcomed the launch of South Africa's electronic travel authorization, a platform as part of digital transformation of the visa and immigration system. The ETA replaces manual visa processes with a faster, more efficient digital system. By integrating biometric verification and advanced technology, the ETA will strengthen border security, improve migration management, and enhance South Africa's competitiveness as a destination for tourism, business, and investment. Excuse me. On building stronger international relations, South Africa hosted a successful 46th SADC Summit. Cabinet welcomed the successful hosting of the 46th SADC Summit in Durban that commenced South Africa's chairship under the theme Resilient, Sustainable and Inclusive Industrialization through Infrastructure Development, Agricultural and Critical Minerals Transformation in Pursuit of a Just World. The summit received and considered reports on the implementation of the Regional Indicative Strategic Development Plan, RISDIP 2020 to 2030, which is based on continued efforts towards improving peace, security, economic, health, and infrastructure performance. SADC also considered progress on the development of the North-South Economic Corridor, which is commonly known as NEXEC. There's also the establishment of the NESEC Investment Program and the Corridor Management Institution. And also, the summit also considered the need to identify at least 3 high-impact projects or areas to be discussed in the next meeting of the Council of Ministers. South Africa took the opportunity to brief the summit about migration governance in the country and the need to hold SADC dialogue on the matter, including the pull and push factors and related security matters. On the 4th session of the South Africa-Zimbabwe Binational Commission, Cabinet commended the success of the 4th South Africa-Zimbabwe Binational Commission, which reviewed bilateral cooperation and strengthened relations between the 2 countries. Cabinet noted that Zimbabwe remains one of South Africa's largest trading partners in Africa, with bilateral trade reaching 81 billion rands in 2025. The 4th session concluded 6 new cooperation agreements, including an MOU on the interstate transfer of sentenced prisoners. Additional agreements are on diplomacy, agriculture, arts and culture, and women empowerment, will further advance regional integration and economic transformation. The Exile Repatriation Program, Angola phase of South Africa's Exile Repatriation Program. Cabinet welcomed the launch of the Angola phase of South Africa's Exile Repatriation Program to locate and repatriate the remains of South Africans who died in exile during the liberation struggle as part of the country's 5-year exile repatriation plan. Cabinet noted that Angola has the largest known concentration of South Africans who died in exile, while with more than 400 possible graves identified. Cabinet calls on families whose loved ones have died, disappeared, or were buried in Angola during the liberation struggle to register with the South African Heritage Resource Agency through the Sahara Exile Repatriation Portal. Families requiring assistance can also register at Sahara offices, Freedom Park, Provincial Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, and culture offices, and through military veteran structures. South Africa repatriates Namibian remains and struggle heroes. Cabinet welcomed the repatriation of the remains of 86 Namibians, including liberation heroes Festus Nehale and Simon Nilenge, who died in detention after being imprisoned on Robben Island. The remains, which were removed from Namibia more than a century ago and subjected to unethical colonial-era experiments, will be reburied at Namibia's Heroes' Acres. Cabinet welcomed the repatriation as an important act of restorative justice that honors liberation heroes and provides closure to their descendants. On Cabinet decisions, first decision, amendment of the Articles of Agreement of the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Cabinet approved the tabling in Parliament of the proposed amendment to the Articles of the Agreement of the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, commonly known as the IBRD, to enhance the bank's lending capacity and support global and regional development priorities. The amendment forms part of the broader G20-endorsed Multilateral Development Bank's reform agenda to strengthen the financial capacity and operational flexibility of the multilateral development banks. Ratification by South Africa will support the country's development priorities by improving access to concessional financing for sustainable development. The 2025-26 annual reports on the implementation of Criminal Law Amendment Act of 2007, commonly known as the Sexual Offences and Related Matters Act. Cabinet approved the submission to Parliament of the 2025-26 annual reports on the implementation of the Criminal Law Amendment Act of 2007, as I've indicated, commonly known as the Sexual Offences and Related Matters Act. Cabinet raised concerns on the still high statistics with regard to rape and other sexual offences, highlighted in the report, despite multiple government interventions, and directed the strengthening of multidisciplinary initiatives under the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide. The strengthening of coordinated response to sexual offences, the criminal justice system, health, social development, and education sectors, strengthening prevention, victim support, offender accountability, and the protection of vulnerable groups. The 2025-26 annual reports on the implementation of the criminal law, Child Justice Act of 2008, Act number 75 of 2008. The report covers the period 1 April 2025 to 31 March 2023. Cabinet directed that more efforts must be made to strengthen the coordinated approach to prevent child offending. Updates to Cabinet. Implementation of the Municipal Performance Turnaround Strategy. Cabinet was briefed on the progress made by the Interministerial Committee on the Municipal Performance Turnaround Strategy in addressing challenges in distressed municipalities. The intervention has been expanded from the initial 10 to 38 municipalities and focuses on improving financial viability, governance, service delivery, audit outcomes, and institutional capacity. The IMC also supports the implementation of constitutional interventions where existing support measures have not achieved the desired outcomes. Improvement of borderline infrastructure. Cabinet approved the Borderline Infrastructure Improvement Plan 2026 to 2030 to strengthen and modernize South Africa's borderline infrastructure as part of government's broader migration management strategy. The plan will be implemented across all 7 border provinces and will improve border security, patrol mobility, operational response times, personnel safety, infrastructure maintenance, and intergovernmental coordination while deterring illegal cross-border incursions. State of readiness for the 2026 local government elections. Cabinet was briefed on the state of readiness for the 2026 local government elections and noted progress made in preparations towards the elections scheduled for the 4th of November 2026. Cabinet noted that coordination mechanisms across national, provincial, and local spheres of government were in place to support a free, fair, credible, and peaceful electoral process. Cabinet welcomed ongoing measures to strengthen voter participation, combat misinformation, and ensure operational readiness, and encouraged all eligible South Africans to participate in the democratic process by exercising their right to vote. Cabinet has strongly condemned the recent killings of councillors and appreciated the swift response of the law enforcement agencies in finding perpetrators of these heinous crimes. Cabinet called on all South Africans to uphold political tolerance, reject intimidation, reject violence, and reject any conduct that undermines the integrity of the electoral process as the country prepares for the 2026 local government elections. Water Partnership Update. Cabinet received an update on the work of the Water Partnership Office, which supports municipalities to strengthen water service delivery through partnerships with the private sector. Under the non-revenue water program, the Water Partnership Office assisted eThekwini Municipality to secure 379 million rands over 6 years to reduce water losses and is supporting eThekwini and the city of Tshwane with implementation. Under the water reuse program, 34 municipalities completed climate risk assessments, while $235 million were secured from the Green Climate Fund to advance water reuse projects. The Water Partnership Office is developing a sanitation bond and fund to support non-sewered sanitation technologies in informal settlements and schools. Under the Seawater Desalination Program, a proposal was submitted to the City of Cape Town to support the Pendant Eland Desalination Public-Private Partnership Project. On bills, the first bill is the Second-Hand Goods Amendment Bill 2026. Cabinet approved the publication of the Second-Hand Goods Amendment Bill 2026 for public comment. The bill seeks to strengthen the regulation of the second-hand goods sector and close regulatory gaps to combat stolen goods, infrastructure vandalism, cable theft, and unlawful scrap metal trade. The second bill is the Stock Theft Amendment Bill 2026. Cabinet approved the publication of the Stock Theft Amendment Bill 2025 for public comment. The bill seeks to strengthen measures to prevent, investigate, and prosecute livestock theft, improve the regulation of livestock in ownership and possession, and enhance protection of the agricultural sector. Executive Members' Ethics Bill 2026. Cabinet approved the publication of the Executive Members' Ethics Bill for public comment. The bill amends the Executive Members' Ethics Act 1998 to strengthen ethical standards and accountability, clarify the role of the public protector, and improve the management of conflict of interest and the improper use of public office. Appointments. All appointments are subject to verification of qualifications and the relevant security clearances. First is the appointment of Dr. Stembisile Lynette Ulu as Director General in the National Department of Health. Ms. Bilkis Omar as Deputy Director General, Policy Research and Legislation at the Department of the Civilian Secretariat of the Police. Ms. Prudence Madiba as Chief Executive Officer of the South African National Energy Development Institute. Ms. Babalwa Mapisa as the Chief Financial Officer of the National Housing Finance Corporation. Appointment of non-executive members of the Board of Directors of the Road Traffic Management Corporation. Ms. Nomusa Mfamadi as the Chairperson. Ms. Lerato Mahalo for the reappointment. Ms. Linda Agnes Mwango. Ms. Tsepiso Poho. Ms. Nomkita Mona. Mr. Gift van Staden. Ms. Malebu Matalo. Is Ms. Malebu Matolong and Dr. Mpostol Mashinini. Appointment of the part-time regulator members of the National Energy Regulator of South Africa, Ms. Jabulile Makatini, Dr. Dramaj Bridgelal, and Ms. Nomputuko Nontombana. And the reappointment of the chairperson and deputy chairperson of the director and one director to the board of the National Radioactive Waste Disposal, Dr. Limao Dora Modise, reappointment and reappointed also as the chairperson, Dr. Wosley Barnett, reappointed and appointed as a deputy chairperson, and Mr. Ashley Lashu. And also the appointment of Mr. Graham Ian Wood as the chairperson of the South African Tourism Board. Events and conferences. The 18th BRICS Summit. President Ramaphosa will lead South Africa's delegation to the 18th BRICS Summit in India on the 12th and 13th of September 2026. And the summit will provide an opportunity for South Africa to advance its national and African development priorities while strengthening cooperation, trade, investment, and sustainable development within the BRICS Forum. The 2027 World Bank Group and International Monetary Fund Africa Caucus Annual Meeting. Cabinet approved South Africa's hosting of the World Bank Group, which is commonly known as WBG, and International Monetary Fund IMF Africa Caucus Annual Meeting in 2027 in its capacity as the chair of the Africa Caucus. The meeting will provide a platform to advance Africa's development priorities, strengthen the continent's voice in global financial governance, and leverage South Africa's leadership of the African Caucus and experience from its G20 presidency to advance Africa's specific priorities and engagement with the World Bank Group and the IMF. The World Economic Forum Special Meeting. Cabinet approved South Africa's hosting of the World Economic Forum Special Meeting in Cape Town from the 27th to the 31st of March 2028, the first time the WEF Spring Davos will be held in the country, providing an opportunity to promote investment, trade, economic cooperation, and sustainable development. The Africa Green Hydrogen Summit 2026, Cabinet approved the hosting of the second Africa Green Hydrogen Summit in Cape Town from the 15th to the 16th of September 2026 to advance Africa's green hydrogen economy through collaboration among governments, investors, and industry partners. The summit will support Africa's green hydrogen ambitions by promoting industrialization, investment, technology transfer, skills development, and access to emerging green hydrogen markets. September National Commemorations and Campaigns. Cabinet noted that September will be observed as Tourism Month, Heritage Month, and Public Service Month. Tourism Month, it will be under the theme Growing South Africa's Tourism Sector in the Digital Era, which encourages South Africans to explore local destinations through the Short Left campaign and take advantage of affordable travel packages. On the Heritage Month, it will be commemorated under the theme Celebrating Our Living Heritage, Strengthening the Ties That Bind Us, which celebrates South Africa's diverse cultures, traditions, and living heritage while encouraging social cohesion and appreciation of the nation's cultural diversity. On the Public Service Month, it recognizes the contribution of the public servants to development and service delivery while promoting professionalism, accountability, innovation, and excellence across the public service. Cabinet encourages all South Africans to participate in activities marking these observations and to celebrate the values, people, and institutions that contribute to nation building and social progress. South African Police Service National Commemoration Day. The South African Police Service will host the National Commemoration Day on Sunday, 6 September 2026, to honor all SAPS members who lost their lives in the line of duty between 1st of April 2025 and 31st March 2026. The event will take place at the SAPS Memorial at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. On messages, we'll start with messages of condolences. Cabinet expressed condolences to the friends and families of Justice Fikile Eunice Mogotlo, who had a distinguished service in the administration of justice in our country. She passed on while serving at the Supreme Court of Appeal. The government and the people of Zimbabwe following the loss of 93 lives in a ferry accident on Lake Kariba. The government and the people of the Democratic Republic of Congo following more than 2,000 reported deaths due to current strain of the Ebola virus in the Eastern DRC. Tlotlo Tseka, a 7-year-old author, illustrator and literacy ambassador and publisher of 3 books, she passes on when she was completing her 4th manuscript. Former Bafana Bafana team manager Mr. Sipho Nkumani, known for his contribution to South African football, and former 2-time boxing world champion Mr. Zolani Tete, who will be remembered for his contribution to South African boxing. And we want to extend our appreciation to the law enforcement agency for the swift response in arresting the murderer of our champion, Mr. Zolani Tete. On congratulations, Cabinet would like to congratulate the Government Communication and Information System, the GCIS, on receiving the Public Sector Icon Award in recognition of its leadership, institutional stewardship, and contribution to public service and national transformation. Well done to GCIS. Mr. Siyabulela Duda of the GCIS, who won 2nd prize in the photo category of the 2026 SADC Media Awards, and Mr. Siaga Lebohile Tladi of Sputnik Radio Africa, who received 2nd prize in the radio category. The awards recognize excellence in journalism and contributions to advancing regional integration, development, and cooperation within SADC. South Africa Sporting Fraternity, we want to congratulate South Africa Sporting Fraternity on the outstanding achievements recognized at the 2026 South Africa Sports Awards. First is Mr. Akani Simbine for being named Sports Star of the Year. Ms. Prudence Sekhodiso for winning Sportswoman of the Year. Mr. Peter Kotze for being named Sportsman of the Year. Mr. Bayanda Walaza, who received the Youth Junior Sport Star of the Year award, and the Protea Men's Trust cricket team on being named Team of the Year. Siya Halelisa. Banyana on advancing to the FIFA Interconfederation Playoff Tournament and keeping alive their hopes of qualifying for the 2027 FIFA World Cup for women. The South African national women's hockey team on securing their first victory at the 2026 FIH Hockey World Cup. Lina Potwana, who at 6 years old was crowned champion at the IPA All-Star Contest in Wuhan, China, competing against participants from more than 40 countries. And to the recipients of the 2026 South African Women in Science Awards, SAWISA, for their contribution to advancing South Africa's science, technology, and innovation agenda. The list is just long, but when we issue the infographics, will the name the individual winners of the South African Women in Science Awards. And we want to also inform you that the South African Police Service will be releasing the crime statistics for the quarter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister in the Presidency, for the statement on the post-cabinet briefing. I want to also thank you very much, Minister, that despite you being under the weather, you prioritize informing South Africans of what the elected officials and the government are doing. Highly appreciated. We think that maybe, Minister, when we are done, you'll get time to rest. Just been quite busy. Colleagues, on that note, let me open the floor for questions. We'll start in the House, and then we will then go online. I'll just repeat what we whispered in the absence of the Minister. We keep our questions short, straight to the point, and if the question was already asked, then we might not actually be in line to repeat it. Thank you very much. Let me show by way of hand. Let me note your hand. I'll note the second. Yeah, in that order you are recognized. Press the button in front of you, the red one, and then introduce yourself, and then straight to your questions.
Thank you so much. Francis Loma Chapter from Progressive Independent News. Minister, what is the latest update on the South African citizens that are affected by the mudslide in Nepal and China? And is there any help desk that is in the region or set up in the region to assist those that are still wondering where their loved ones are?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm Dila from ENCA. Minister, what economic interventions is the Cabinet considering to ease the skyrocketing cost of living that's squeezing the middle and low-income houses? Secondly, is the presidency concerned about a jet fuel shortage, given what we're seeing play out around Sasol and only having 2 refineries, which impacted OR Tambo and flights there? And lastly, NSFAS continues to battle severe governance and payment backlogs. What definitive steps is government taking to stabilize student allowances without plunging the scheme back into crisis? And we know, of course, the crime stats are coming out, but are you comfortable, Minister, with perhaps the levels of crime in the country and border governance as well? Thank you.
The last one was border governance.
Yeah, crime and border governance in general, the state of...
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think we are done in the House. Let me check with my colleague Vanessa if we have any questions online.
Thank you, Mr. Malloy. We have 2 questions online. They are from Brayton Cupido from NetBank 24. Regarding the recent political killings, did Cabinet discuss the possibility of increasing capacity within the political killings task teams or implementing any other law enforcement measures to help ensure safe and secure elections? We have seen the 2 largest parties in the GNU, the ANC and the DA, increasingly go head-to-head in public as electioneering gathers momentum. Does the GNU remain stable despite parties now positioning themselves more aggressively ahead of the upcoming elections? That's all we have for now.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. Minister, I think those are the questions that we'll request you to take, and after the responses, after your response, Minister, you might also say adios to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me start with the questions that were in the House. The situation in Nepal, we all recognize is still a live situation, wherein the disaster is still not abated, and we are talking to our missions that are close around the area in China, so that we can respond. We are in touch with the authorities, so that we can make sure that South Africans who are stranded or anyhow find assistance. The Department of International Relations and Cooperation will update with the developments as and when they are developments. On the economic interventions on the cost of living, in the cabinet statement we have called upon South Africans to comment on the revised policy, electricity pricing policy, as part of those interventions. so that we can mitigate the cost of electricity. We have continuously intervened on the cases of fuel when the fuel prices were skyrocketing. Government has stepped in to intervene and stabilize that cost. So we continue to do that work. There is an interministerial team which is composed of departments of agriculture, energy and electricity, mineral and petroleum resources, water, local government, and Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. I think Human Settlements is there. I can't remember. It's a couple of departments who are looking on an end-to-end solution that is sustainable. That's why we're starting with policy revisions to make sure that we can have the relevant instruments that allow us to make the interventions. On the jet fuel shortage, it was not discussed in cabinet, but the last time when the IMC that was looking at the fuel shortages, given the situation that was in the Gulf, we were assured that there is capacity to make sure that there is sufficient jet fuel in the country. On the NFSAS, it was not discussed in cabinet, but the Minister Manamela, who's the Minister of Higher Education and Training, is busy working on mechanisms to make sure that the NFSAS is stabilized and that there is continuity and funding. Then there are questions that are online on increasing capacity of the political killing task teams given the elections. The net joints have a full plan on securing the elections and the related matters. And if cabinet discuss the operational matters of capacities of policing structures, we are going to run into problems. The police will know there's mechanisms in place or within the police system that ensures that if the capacity requires to be enhanced, it will be enhanced, but allow the law enforcement authorities to deal with the matter and respond and adjust their plans accordingly. The GNU is intact. Remember, this is election period. Parties are contesting to win election in the November 2026 elections, and that is the work that will continue to be done on the matter. I'd excluded one item which we need to include in the
Levels of crime and border.
I've excluded one matter in the cabinet statement, which will do. There is cabinet has also approved the the Justice International Conference, which will have prominent people than the UN, DOC, the president, judges, and prosecutors of the ICC who will be attending that conference. We'll provide the details in the statement as we release it. I don't have other questions that were online forwarded to me for me to be able to respond. May I have them forwarded to me?
No, I think we are fine, Minister. From the House, there was a question with concern on levels of crime and border governance.
We can't preempt the crime statistics. You'll have to be patient. 12 o'clock is here. They will release the crime statistics. And in terms of border governance, you know our position that we are continuing to improve the work of border management, and that's why Cabinet has also approved the implementation of the borderline infrastructure improvement plan 2026 to 2030. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister, for the updates. Colleagues, may I indicate that the final statement will be issued very soon today. That captures every aspect that the Minister was going through. And I hope also that colleagues will also follow what was said through the YouTubes, but also the very final statement is the one that will be the record of what has been said. On that note, let's take this time to thank you very much for the attendance, for the coverage as always, and we want to thank also the Minister for the time that you took despite your health. And on that note, colleagues, thank you very much. The briefing is urgent.